All right, we'll begin with breaking news. There are reports of an attack on Iran's South Pars Petrochemical facility. This, as Iran says, negotiations are incompatible with threats as the US and Iran step up their attacks on Iran. Let's now go straight to Tohid Asadi, who's live for us in Iran's capital. So what do we know about this attack on the South Pars facility?
Obviously, this is going to be a major development, and this is just the initial report that came in from Fars news agency affiliated with or with close relations with IRGC. They came out with this very breaking news to say that the enemy attacked the South Pars Petrochemical complex in the city of Asaluye, and also they're saying that a few minutes ago several explosions were heard from South Pars Petrochemical complex in that city, and also they're saying that additional information details are going to be published very soon. That is the only thing so far we have, but contextually speaking, we know that we're talking about one of the very, very important energy facilities of the country, and also that comes within the context of the threats by the US president regarding a deadline in which there is a potentiality for further escalation for the infrastructure, including oil and energy infrastructures of the country, to be targeted. And that's obviously part and parcel of the sustained airstrikes that we have been witnessing. Another major blow that Iran faced very recently was actually the announcement that we heard from IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, about the killing of the head of intelligence organization of IRGC, Majid Khademi, in the series of airstrikes that took place last night in the eastern, western, and southern areas of the Iranian capital. And added to that, we also know that we are dealing with this continued airstrikes across the country in different cities such as Karaj, Shiraz, and Isfahan, and I would say there is a long list such as Bandar Lengez, Qom, Baharistan, Shahryar. In some of these cases, we have fatalities, and these airstrikes are going on while Iran is talking about retaliatory strikes, in very particular talking about this energy complex that is said to be targeted. Previously, we heard from the spokesperson of the Khatamul Anbiya military headquarters to talk about retaliatory strikes. They said that if the attacks on the civilian units of the country continue, this time there is going to be a widespread retaliation down the road, and they're talking about more devastating waves of their retaliation targeting the US assets across the region or other infrastructures supporting the US assets or US military bases across the region, as well as the Israeli territories.
Okay, thank you very much, Tohid Asadi. That's the latest breaking news coming out of Iran. And here in the studio, Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javaid joins us live. So this South Pars facility that's been hit, this isn't the first time, but you know, this perhaps is just a section of it, but the gas field is shared with Qatar as well, isn't it?
Well, it is one of the world's largest gas facilities. It's shared with Qatar and Iran, South Pars on the Iranian side and the North Field here in Qatar. And as you mentioned, this is the second time that we're hearing of attacks near South Pars. It's not yet clear what's the detail of how big this attack is, what it has targeted, and how will it affect any supplies. It is not just one of the largest producers of gas in the world. You have to remember that Iran is the world's fourth largest consumer of LNG. South Pars is essentially the lifeline for electricity and industrial production and everything else in Iran as well. So it is of huge importance, not just to Iran, but to the entire region as well. And we've been hearing the Iranians, as soon as anything that has been mentioned about their energy facilities, their oil infrastructure, they've said that they will retaliate, and they will retaliate in huge fashion. You remember that when their energy facilities, oil facilities, Harg Island were hit, in retaliation, they hit multiple refineries across the region in the UAE, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, and even the Ras Laffan gas field here in Qatar as well. So we'll have to wait and see on what this is, but it appears that this is a serious and significant development in the escalation ladder, because if the the idea was to bring tensions down, to open the Strait of Hormuz, to bring Iran to the table. This kind of attack needs to be avoided rather than repeated.
And also because, if you said, this triangle of the US, but you also have Qatar with part ownership of that South Pars field. So we'll wait and see what the extent of the damage is. All of this just before Trump's deadline, which is less than 24 hours away from now. At the same time, you've been speaking to Pakistani officials. What have they been telling you? Because so far, Pakistan has almost become the default mediator in this war.
Absolutely. So in the last few weeks, it is just Pakistan, which is essentially taking the messages from the Americans to the Iranians and vice versa. As you heard from the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman, the American plan of 15 points that was rejected, they're still trying to push their line forward, that they need reparations. They don't want to talk about their ballistic missiles program. They're okay to talk about nuclear enrichment as well as giving up or diluting some of the enriched uranium that they have in the country. But all of that, as you heard from the Iranians, cannot happen under the threat of violence as they're continuing to field attacks on their leadership, on their towns, on their cities, on their institutions. They cannot, in good faith, enter into negotiations. And that's where the Pakistanis are, that they're taking those messages to them. They're finding it hard to get the message across because the top-tier leadership has been wiped out. And what they're trying to build is some sort of, not those 15 points, not these 8 points, something in the middle where they find a common ground, whether it's temporarily opening the Strait of Hormuz, whether it's a ceasefire for 48 hours. There's multiple options on the table that are being taken back and forth. But the point is that because of the sea of distrust that exists between them, the Iranians say the last time they spoke to the Americans twice the Americans and the Israelis hit them. And that is why, for them to take anything that the Americans are saying seriously, is still not on the table.
A big task ahead for Pakistan as mediator in this war. Thanks very much, Osama bin Javaid.